Hi, and welcome to Create Your Vision Music. I'm Deborah Henson-Conant. I'm a composer, I'm a performer, I play the electric harp, and I also, my entire life has been about creative expression. And I'm about to do a course called Strings of Passion. This is a warm-up webinar for that course. I know that some of you are already in that course. Those of you who aren't, I'm going to give you the opportunity to join that course later on. And that course is all about creative expression. And it's called the Strings of Passion because as a harpist all my life, I discovered that this instrument has strings. Duh, that was pretty obvious. And they all ring together. And what I discovered as I started breaking down creativity is that it's broken into principles, which I'll tell you about in a minute, but that they all sing together. And this whole idea of resonance, that the ideas of creativity that we are using in our lives and the instruments that we play with, no matter what they are, or whether it's our voice, whether it's our body, whether it's an instrument like this, there's a resonance between us and that instrument. It is a connection. It is a partnership that we make. And that partnership happens with everything we say, everything we express, and everything that we hold inside. There's a partnership with withholding that makes us more withheld when we're not expressing ourselves. So self-expression is a deeply important part of life. Now, some of you may know me in many, many different ways. Some of you may have seen me perform. You may have seen my PBS special. You might have had my records, my recordings, my DVDs, my CDs. You might have been in a class with me. You might have been in a workshop with me. You may have engaged with me in a lot of different ways. And I have engaged with you in a lot of different ways. But today, what we're doing here today is that I am hoping to open a door for you by opening that door that I opened for myself into creative expression. And the way that we're going to do it today is through something called vision music. So let me just play. What I'm doing in this moment is actually connecting to myself through the instrument. And I'm connecting to myself through this instrument. And it would not have to be this instrument. It could be many different things. But I'm connecting to it through two chords that are, for me, vision chords. If you have an instrument, I would love you to just have it near you if you can. And if you don't have it near you, I want you to just imagine connecting with something. If that's your voice, as I play, you may be able to resonate to that. La da dum, la da da da. Because sounds and certain pitches and certain chords are going to make us want to sing or make us want to play. And that's a part of finding your vision music. Your vision music is like a vision board where you can experience what it is you're visioning. When you're looking at a vision board, you're seeing all kinds of different images of what you may want in your life. When you explore vision music, what you are exploring is an experience through music. I'm seeing that some of you are asking what chord this is. All right, so I've got my harp tuned in the key of G, for those of you who are musicians. So that means I've got it's like if you've got a keyboard in front of you, it's like all the white keys, except for when you get to the F, you use the black one that's next to the F. So it's got an F sharp. So I'm playing in the key of G, but the chord that I'm playing is an E, but it's not exactly an E. I'll just tell you what it is so you know. It's E, B, E in the bass, E, B, E in the bass, and it's G, A, D, F. And that chord is setting up a resonance that is really beautiful for me. It gives me an impulse to do many things, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then what I'm doing is I'm keeping exactly the same right hand, and I'm going down and I'm playing a C in the bass. And for those of you who are musicians, this is a thing that you can do a lot. For those of you who aren't musicians, there's a similar principle. But what I'm doing is I'm finding something that I think is beautiful. And then I'm keeping most of it the same. And I'm just changing one part of it. I'm making the bass note lower. So I have that same chord. And then I just go down and I play a C in the bass instead of an E. And I play the same chord. And why this is important for everyone, musicians and not musicians, is that part of creativity is to take a thing that you love and change it just slightly. Not the whole thing, just slightly, so that you can see it in an alternative way. And so that you now have not just one thing, which is inspiring, I can play along with it in ways that I like. It's not just inspiring, but because I have two of them, I can go back and forth between them. And I have an experience of this rocking and opening me up. So let me talk first about the principles of creative expression, because those are at the heart of everything that I teach. And they are at the heart of the course that we're just starting at the Academy, which is Strings of Passion. And what's beautiful about vision music is that you will create a story with your vision music, and then you will bring it alive over time by putting these principles of creative expression into play. So in fact, let's just do that right now. I think you guys have the handout. This is great. I love that you guys are sharing all the information. My right hand is G, A, D, F. This happens to be, in fact, let me play you something, because I want to show you what can happen with vision music. This is a 2-chord. You can tell that I don't have pierced ears. My earrings keep falling out. This is an example of vision music. This piece is called The Phoenix. And I wrote this piece at a time when I was in great pain, emotionally and spiritually. And I really felt like my life was over and that nothing else was going to happen for me in my life. I'm just laughing because, there have been many times when I felt that, and it's never been true. And yet the feeling is always true. And this piece has been one of the things that brought me out of it. And I'm going to play it. I'm going to tell you that I started by just having those 2 chords and feeling the sorrow of this first chord, which felt like sorrow. And it resonated with my heart. And then the second chord, which felt like it had hope. So I was able to resonate between the sorrow that I was feeling, the loneliness, the despair, the aloneness, the complete loneliness, and then the possibility of hope that had all the same notes and simply a different foundation. And I could experience that, the loneliness that I felt and the hope that I longed for, the depth of that hope. And it started out with just those two chords. And then I would play them over and over again to feel the feeling. So if you have a harp there, you can play any number of them, and you can just feel as I'm playing them. I'm creating there's two roles that I'm playing here musically right now. I'm playing accompaniment because I'm playing here in the middle, I've got a chord, and I'm playing a bass note, which is an E, and then a C. If you're a singer, you might just sing along. You may just sing a single note. You may just feel that single note and feel the vibration inside you. And if you play anything else, any other instrument, you can just find a single note. A single note is enough to play. And if you're not a musician, you can still play the sound of your hands, or you can play the movement. It doesn't matter. What you're doing is you're experiencing the story that I'm about to tell in a kind of music. And to think about music rather than notes, and why this is vision music, even if you're going to dance it or draw it, think about what music would be if you could not hear. Because not hearing does not mean that you do not experience music. Music exists whether there's sound or not. It is an experience. And for many years, I was asking, what is music to someone who's deaf? Because I know it's something. And the descriptions that I read were so beautiful and so in tune with my experience of music. And the one that I loved the most was, when you see the wind moving through a field of wheat, that is music. So we will find the wind that moves through our field of music, our field of wheat, our field of life, our field of experience. And we can vision what we want through music. I'm going to show you an example, and then I'll break it down for you so that you can do it yourself. This is going to sound more complex because you are going to hear it at the end. Now, in Strings of Passion, we start out at the beginning with something that might just be like that. Or if you're not a harpist, it might be a single chord on a guitar. If you're a singer, it may be a single word or a vowel. If you don't play at all, I was playing around with like what music would be like if I didn't play music at all, and I'll show you in a minute. I pulled out a spoon and one of my computer parts, and I was really having fun playing music with that. But the story, experiencing the story and understanding that I created this story because this is the story that I needed and often need to hear. So think about that. What is the story that you need to hear about yourself? And this story went like this. There is a myth of a great bird. And while I'm telling the story, I want you to observe how I keep going back to these two chords. And you'll see me play them. You might see me play them with rhythm. And you'll see me come up here. But when I go down there, I'm always intoning these two chords. Again, this is a piece when it's become a piece, but it started as vision music, and it started as like this story. There is a myth of a great bird, and she is called the phoenix. The phoenix flies over all the world. And she has a shadow. A shadow of sunlight. And if that shadow should fall on you, your heart and your mind and your imagination will be opened forever. For 1,000 years, the phoenix flies. And when she knows that her time is coming to an end, she flies to the highest peak of the highest mountain. And there, with her final breath, she bursts into flames. But the phoenix can never really die because she lives within the soul of humankind. And that soul comes to the mountain and it finds her embers and it whispers onto her embers and it blows onto her embers and it blows on her embers as the moon rises and as the stars turn and as the first ray of the morning sunlight light upon her ashes. Once again, the phoenix flies. Now, when I play this piece in concert, it's much longer, and I created a part in the middle where it allows me to just really freely improvise. And I can go on and on like that and then come back to the melody. But even this one thing, I'm still playing the E, and then going down to the C. And what I want to say for both musicians and non-musicians is that this opportunity to keep one thing the same and change one thing is one of the things that allows you to really start getting comfortable with what you're doing and be sunk and steeped and enriched by it, instead of many people's experience of music, which is, I got to get all the notes. I got to get all the notes. And there's all these different things. So vision music uses not only a vision and a story, but it starts off with something simple that you can do now. This is a concept that can be very, very, very difficult for people. We are so used to thinking we need to achieve something so much more that it can be very difficult to take what we can do. So this is what I want you to do now. I want you to, if you haven't printed out the handout, I think the handout is still ready. Is still available. And even if you don't have it, you can just draw a circle or you can make a journey. I want you to make a journey for yourself. So my journey was through this bird. I needed to experience And here's a story of hope that came through the phoenix, and the phoenix being reborn. And every time I play this, I get to experience it. And not only do I get to experience it, but I also get to practice it. And I'm playing, I'm practicing physically playing my instrument. I'm practicing going through this story. I'm practicing going through the hope. And because it starts out as something very simple, I am able to expand into it. So it started as a single chord, and I could play that over and over. A single chord. So I want you all to play something, and it doesn't have to be something beautiful. You may not find something beautiful. It may be a single note. If you're a singer, it may be just one pitch that feels good, or one pitch that's very low that you can really feel in your body. If you're someone who, if you're not a musician and you are if you are an artist, you may just want to draw a line so that you can feel the feeling of it. What we're doing here is, when I first started playing music, I thought that playing music meant learning to play a lot of notes and being able to be really flashy and impressive. And so that's what I worked on. And I got pretty good at that. And I kept doing it, and I get more flashy and do more and more and more things. And it was interesting to me, but I wasn't connecting to me. So people could look at me and be like, "No, that's good. Yeah, oh yeah, you're good. You're fast. You're good." But they weren't really getting to connect to themselves through what I was doing. And as I started to bring this visioning into my music, everything completely changed. I went from being someone who was playing other people's music and being impressive to someone who was playing my own music and really changing the audience. And how did I know that? It was just a different kind of response. Like when I was playing fast and flashy, which I still love to do, people would be like, "Oh, you're really good." After I started adding this aspect, they would say, "That was moving. I want to go home and play music." They were inspired. And that's what absolutely each one of us can do, no matter what your technical level is. Just want to look at the questions. I love how you guys are so obsessed with the chord. I'll tell you the chord later on. But what I want you to do is feel your experience. I love it. You guys it's adorable. I'm the same way. I just want you to really feel, because this is not about a specific chord. This is about your vision and your story. So let me take any chord, take an E note, and put a B with it or something. It doesn't matter. It's beautiful. Or you can take an E, a B, and an F sharp. It's gorgeous. That's a gorgeous sound. And I want you to just know that that is a place to start. Now, I want you to think of of a story. You can, and I gave you a wheel to have 7 different parts of a journey that you want to take within yourself, a story that you need to hear. I'm often needing to hear stories of people who are my age or older, finally achieving what they've always wanted to achieve and feeling like they got there. That's something that I often want to hear stories of. And so I will write stories about fictitious neighbors who do that. Like I'll write a story about, an 85-year-old neighbor who goes off and becomes Doña Quijota, who's like Don Quixote. So I want you to think about even just 2 parts of a journey or 3 parts of a journey. And then what we're going to do is we're going to play that journey. This is not about notes. I'm going to play notes on the harp. You're going to sing. If you're a singer, you're going to play notes on a guitar. You're going to be connecting to whatever instrument you have, whether that's your voice, whether it is something that you're hitting. It doesn't matter. You're connecting to the instrument. The instrument is a platform for experiencing this story. And what I'm about to tell you is what's important is that you are going to be adding richness to this story and this experience through the 7 strings of passion that will bring richness and connection to this vision music. Now, as you play it, as you work it in strings of passion and in vision music in general, you start off with something simple. You don't start off with a page of music that then you learn. This is how to grow music. You're going to start off with something simple. You're going to keep playing that simple thing and really experience it and enrich it. So let's just play. I'm just going to play. Actually, for those of you, I'm playing E, B, G. I've got F sharp, so I might come down to an F sharp as well. But it doesn't matter what I'm playing. And trust me that it doesn't matter. So I want you to play that vision. I want you to play whatever you're playing, and I want you to experience where you are now in that vision. And this vision story, vision music will take you to the place you want to be. So start where you are now, whatever it is, sadness, or it might be joy. It doesn't matter. Find something that feels like you feel now a little bit. And it could be like, don't try to make it complicated. Don't try to make it interesting. We're looking for music, the music in the notes, not the notes that are important. So let go of the sound that you are making and listen to what you're feeling inside without judgment for what you're playing. So think of the first step of your journey. And then think of the second step of your journey, whatever that is. So in my song of the Phoenix, and that sounds really sad to me. So I'm going to go to G. So I'm playing G, D, B. I might noodle around. I'm just playing G, D, B. And notice how I keep playing that. I'm bringing it in. And this is part of the story, and I'm just playing G, B. Maybe I'm just going to play G. I think I'm going to have F naturals. So G, B, G. Notice that I am playing a low note and then some higher notes. I'm letting it ring. And then I'm playing more like melodies up here. If you're singing, you might go la da dum, la da 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 dee la da dum, la da dee da dee da dee. La da dum, la da da, ya da dee ya dum, la da dum. So that when you come back to that la da dum or whatever it is, you are feeling like you are connecting to that foundation of your story. You're letting that ring. You're letting it hang there. You're playing or singing. Or if you were playing a drum, you might go and then go back to this. But there's the return. So you can feel there is a thing that is at the heart. And then there are things that come off of that. Start with your first part of your journey. And just play along. And I'm going to take you through the 7 strings so you can enrich this. The first string is the string of impulse. So think about the first impulse you had in your life to reach out, to touch something, before you were worried about being desired or wanted or where you fit in the world or how many YouTube hits you had. There was something you reached out for. It was an impulse that has colored your whole life. I want you to think about that impulse and know that you're reaching for it. When you sing or when you play, you're reaching for that impulse. That's the first string in the strings of passion that bring you to creative resonance in what you're doing. The second string, and I may play some different notes, but I'm always going to put G in the bass for now. The second string is the string of structure, and I want you to think about the fact that we are creating a structure here. We're creating a musical structure, because we're repeating something and then we're coming somewhere else, whether we're playing or la da dum dum, la da 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 dee da da dee dum dum, la da dum dum, da 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 ya da dee da dum dum dum, or if we're going bum ba bum dum. Dun, dun, dee, da, 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 back to bum, bum. We've created a simple structure. And there's also a story, the 7 parts of your journey. I wish we were just thinking about the first part or the first and second now. So that's a structure. The journey is a structure. And we've created a structure with the music so that you could play for a long time and have this structure support you. The third string is the string of character. So we're going to take those things and we're going to give them more character. We're going to give this and it doesn't have to be technical. Let's just say we're thinking that this is low and this is low and heavy. Just think about that. And this is light. And why is this low and heavy? What's happening down there? What's happening up here? So this is like a river, and this is like sunlight on the river, or this is like underground, and this is like an animal walking up above. And you can see that even with this simple bit of music, adding character is what will make the music musical. So if you're singing la da 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 dee, la da da ya da 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 dee da da dum bum bum la da dum bum la da 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 dum da dum da 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 dee da 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 dum. You can have character in everything you do. And you can see how even with this very simple thing that we're doing, adding that impulse of what's important to us, adding the structure, we know how it works, and then we add character to it, suddenly it is rich. It becomes more like music. And we can add more notes to it if we want. We can shift something in the bass. It's still very technically easy. What I'm doing is I'm always keeping one thing the lowest note. And then I was doing D and G, and then I did G, and then E and A. So we've got those 3 elements so far: impulse, structure, and character. We already have music. You've added a story to it. With just these 3 things, you could create a piece of music. It's a piece of music. It's not a piece of notes. It's an experience of music that you can use to experience your vision. Even with just these things that I just gave you. So for example, you had them, but like even the story I had, there was once a myth of a great bird, and she was called the phoenix. The phoenix flies through all the world, and wherever she flies, she has a shadow of sunlight. She flies for 1,000 years. And when she knows her time has come to an end, she flies to the highest peak of the highest mountain. And there, with her last breath, she bursts into flames. So you can see that I'm telling a story using almost no technically difficult things, but I'm able, and because I'm not using technically difficult things, I'm able to really invest in the musicality of it and think about it and think about what the story I'm telling is. And if I'm telling a story about my vision and I'm doing it every day, I'm getting deeper and deeper into that vision, and the music is expanding. So let's go to the next string in the strings of passion. So you've got this. The next string in the strings of passion. Actually, there's something else about the third string, character. You can bring in a character into your body. You can bring in an archetype. So that if you were thinking, I am the Mephistopheles or something, I would play it completely differently. Than if I was thinking, I am the angel Gabriel or his daughter, whatever. So you can completely change your experience of what you're doing by bringing in an archetype. That's another thing that you can do that's both a role and a character. So we get to the fourth string, which is the string of roles. Now I'm going to keep playing the same thing. I might, if I was really playing, I might change and play a C at some point or some other chord, but I'm just going to keep with this G's just so you can really see how I'm going to think about the next string. Now I'm going to bring in the idea of roles. In music, there are two basic roles, and one is following and leading. So I might go, that's following, leading. So following, sorry, this is leading. I might think this is leading, and this is following. This is leading, following. Or I might go, this is a drone, this is just the music, and I might go, and then follow. And this is just a structure. From now on, these are things that kind of just help you. When you have impulse, structure, and character, you've got everything you need. But these new skills will help you enrich it more. So leading and following is one kind of roles. The other kind of role is having the bass, the accompaniment, and the melody. You already learned a little bit about that, but when you think about that and you think this is the bass note, this is the melody, and this is the accompaniment in here, because that's the way the harp is, and it's true of any instrument. The lower part is where the bass gets played, the middle part is where the accompaniment gets played, and the top is where the melody gets played. So you could do that also with your voice. Bum ba da doom, dum da 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 dum, bum ba da doo da da dum, ba da da dum, bum ba da dum, ah la da dum, bum ba da dum, da da dum, ah la da dum. So you can see that I'm playing three roles with my voice. That lets me start adding some complexity. So now I know that there's a bass note, there's a bass roll, and there's a melody, and there's accompaniment. And so that gives me more choices of things that I can do with this one idea, which is this one, G, D, G, and then melodies up here. I can now do bass and then melody and then accompaniment. And if I know that this is the accompaniment, it's not just two discrete notes. I'm like, oh, accompaniment. So now, well, I can play them both at once, or I can go up, I can do more stuff with them. I'm playing with these ideas. These are the fundamentals of any kind of creative expression, but I'm also showing you how you would look at them in music. If you were playing a sports game, you would also have roles. And knowing what your role is allows you to then enrich that. Like if you're playing football, which I never would do, but anyway, you would be the back end quarterback, whatever, flat back. I don't know what the blacks are, but anyway, you have a role, and that's what allows you to play with other people. So for example, if I was playing with you and I said, you play the bass and you play the accompaniment and you play the melody, we could immediately play together. So we could actually play vision music together. So that's the fourth string, is roles. That allows us to enrich. I'm going through them really fast. In the class, we go through we take a week for each one so you can really get involved in it. So that's the fourth string. The fifth string is the string of practice. And this is a practice. So we can normally you're practicing to get something right. If you're playing a musical instrument, or when I'm trying to get a webinar to work, I'm practicing it. But in this is a practice. I'm doing this and I'm telling this story every day to myself. This story of my vision, this vision that I want to live. I make it a practice. And as I make it a practice to play this music and tell the story that I want to tell. And if I do that every day, the story starts to expand. I start to deeply feel it, and the music begins to expand. That's how the phoenix began to move forward. I'm hearing some of you say, I'm so excited about this. The little girl in me is jumping up and dancing and wiggling. Beautiful, Marion. That's great. She's saying, see. That's what I meant. So, and Joanne is saying, I always mean to practice. And part of what is so beautiful about this vision music is that it becomes a part of your practice. Instead of sitting down and trying to get something, you sit down and you connect to your story, and that's where you begin. And you begin from this place of the vision. You can then start adding in technical things that you are learning, but you have this foundation of that sound that is yours, of this story, or the sound that you found of these simple whatever chords you use. And then you have the story that you are telling, which brings you the emotion, and it is a story that you need to hear, whatever that story is. And it may be a secret story because you're embarrassed to share it. So the fifth string is a string of practice, and practices, more importantly, practices like this. And the sixth string is the string of deconstruction. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm deconstructing this into its parts so that a piece that I've played for years that you might see as notes can be broken down to an experience that could be experienced in many different ways. Through singing, through playing, a spoon, through playing an instrument. When you deconstruct it, it then opens up so that anyone of any technical ability can experience it and bring it to life. And this is what's important about this. The people who I work with, the musicians and the artists that I work with, are not children. They're grown-ups who have a life experience. So when we're young and we come to an instrument, we just want to get good at it. And we want to play the thing that we've seen other people play. And we're trying to be the best at doing a certain thing. But as adults, when we come, whether we are coming for the first time as adults or whether we get there as adults, we come with our life experience. And whatever art form we're expressing, whether it's painting or whether it's instrument or whether it's dancing, we are bringing the art form becomes a platform for sharing our life experience. This is your voice, the voice of your life that you are going to be able to share. And that is the place you're taking your place in the world when you express yourself. And this is one of the greatest practices that you can have for expressing yourself, is to take something simple like this and tell your story with it to yourself day after day until it starts to become something that you can tell to other people. And that is the seventh string in the strings of passion, is that moment when you take everything that you've learned and everything that you are, and you simply do them without trying to remember it. So when I play the Phoenix now, when I play it, I play this chord and it evokes things for me. And it brings it out of me. But it started out with something ever so simple. So we go through this where we have the impulse, or we take, with vision music, you take something simple, especially something rocking back and forth where you have two of them. You start out with the impulse. You let the impulse of why you are here in this world, you let that come into it. Then you make a structure out of it. This is already a structure. A low note, an accompaniment, and a melody up here. That's one structure. There could be thousands, infinite number of structures. Then you add character. Why is it low? Why is this high? What do they represent? You make meaning for them. Then you learn about the roles. For example, when you know there's a bass note, you can keep the accompaniment the same. You say, that's a bass note. I can move that bass note, and I can keep the accompaniment the same and the melody the same. I could maybe even move it again. But the roles help you connect those things. So you've got your impulse. I just accidentally put that in a different place. And yet the structure is open to that, having it in a different place. And then I heard it and I liked it. And because it's simple, I can add it into the story. So you've got your impulse, you've got your structure, you add the character, and you can add the character because the story is so simple and you're following a story, the story of your vision with that music. Then you've got the roles that help you play around with what you're doing. Then you've got the practice of doing it, not to get it, but to do it. Day after day, to do it, to let it grow, because you maybe made a mistake that you loved the sound of. And so you bring that mistake in again and see how it fits with the music. That's what happens when you're in a practice. And then you go to deconstruction, where you say, well, what is this? How is it built? And so what else can I do with it? Or how could I share it with someone? Because I've deconstructed it. Or if I know how it's constructed, then I can do all kinds of different things with it. And I'm not trying to do exact notes. I'm telling a story with it. And I can tell different stories with it if I can deconstruct it. And finally, you just sit there. And you can play it and you have the moment of liftoff. And then you can share that story with someone else. Even if that's just sharing that story with yourself. You've taken a vision of your life that you want to have. You've connected it to music that you can play, or to a dance that you can do, or to something that you can draw, and you actually invest yourself in what you can do. You enrich what you can do, and you do it over and over again and allow it to expand. And this is the heart of creative expression. And you can imagine that you can do this. If you're a musician, you can do it with any piece of music. You use these strings to help you expand that. And we go through that over and over and over again in the class. So how all the different ways that you can do it, all the different, ways that you can enrich what you're doing. And you can also see, I think, from this, that you could take any piece of music or thing or dance that you already can do. And as you add these principles, it becomes richer and richer. So what I want to know before you leave, first of all, I want to tell you that Strings of Passion begins tomorrow. And we forgot to take the early bird thing off of it, so it's still there. So if you jump in there right now, you'll be able to actually grab the early bird. So let me give it to you so you can actually jump in there. And I'm going to answer any questions that you have. Tell me if you can see that this says it's a creativity program for harpists and other adventurers. If you're already in the academy, you already have this. If you are thinking about joining the academy, this is my favorite. I think this is the most powerful class in the whole academy. In the rest of the year, you're learning fun skills. You apply this to any music and to anything that you do. This will enrich any part of your life. So I consider Strings of Passion to be the most powerful. It's also the most powerful class because it can enrich anything you do. And I wanted to show you this because I was thinking, oh, well, there's probably going to be people in here who are not musicians, because this is available for non-musicians. Oh, and I found so I can't find my preferred instruments. I did have a spoon and whatever this thing is. And actually, this is a lipstick case. But I was asking myself, okay, says to myself, you say this is for anybody. So how could you do this? Like, how does this become important if this is what you've got? And I was like, okay, well, let's take impulse. So, like, I'm happy. So I've made a little rhythm. I might sing along. La da da dum. Dum, da, dum, da, 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 dum, dum, da, dum, dum. So I'm going to think, okay, that's an impulse. The next is structure. So I might add that. I might go bum 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 bum. You can imagine you could do this with any of the things you have in your kitchen, and I hope you will try. And so then I'm going to think, okay, let me add character. Bum 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 bum. I'm adding bum 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 bum. I'm adding a different feeling to it. And then let's talk about roles. Okay, that might be okay, let's think about leading and following. So I get bum 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 bum. I'm just showing, I know it's silly, but I also think that silliness is an important part of creativity. You're going to have to allow yourself to feel silly because because part of practice is that you have to be willing to experience not being experienced in order to actually have the experience. So let's keep going with this. I've got an impulse to be happy and that rhythm. I've got a structure. The structure right now is just I do it over here and then up here and baby. I start playing with that. I could do it a lot of different ways and explore it. And then I played with rolls. That's a little harder with this, but if I was playing with someone else, I could have more fun with rolls. Now I'm going to practice it, which means I'm just going to play it over and over again. And I might involve more of my body and see what happens if I involve more of my body. And you can imagine I could do that with my harp. I could do it with singing. Now I'm engaging more of myself with it and I'm practicing it. And as I practice with it, I start engaging more. Then you can imagine that if I was playing with other people, I could have roles. We could decide what our roles were. We could have a whole symphony just with that. So I want you to think about, even if you have a complex instrument like the harp, think about that you can have fun with it and experiment with it and engage with it as if it was something as simple as a spoon or a lipstick case, rather than all the complexity that happens when you are engaging with it as an instrument that you have to do the right things with, or a vocal that you have to get the right technique or it's not worthwhile, or drums that you have to hit the right rhythm or you're not doing it right. And so Strings of Passion, the class, helps us connect to all that music that is in us and connect it to whatever it is we are using as the platform to be able to share it, so that what you have brought to this world, your gift, whatever it is, can actually come into the world and take its place. And it's an important gift. Your voice, whatever it is, and I don't mean your perfect voice, but your voice as it is now, is an essential part of, like you could say, the tapestry or the ecosystem, the spiritual or human, everything that we are. And with these principles and your vision music, you can bring that literally into play every single day. So thank you so much for being here with me. And I'm going to go look at the chat now and see if you guys have any questions. For those of you who are harp players, if you're not in the academy, this is the perfect time to join. And I know it's been a little bit, it's been a bit, we're like 4 minutes over. So I'm going to thank you for being here. I'm going to hang out for a little while, answer any questions that you have. And Nancy's saying, I do this in my kitchen with a cup of pistachio shells, one at a time, to shake. That's perfect. And Celeste is saying, fabulous. Invest yourself in what you can do. This is the heart of creative expression. Celeste, thank you for bringing that out, because this is one of the hardest things. I talk about this all the time in my classes. Do what you can do. And often it takes someone else. And that's why it's so great that there's someone in the class who's leading it and who's showing you, hey, you can do this. This is a thing you can do, because often we have no idea what we are able to do or what we can bring, because we're so focused on what we can't. Marion, thank you, Marion, for asking about the class. So the way the academy works is that you register, you get in, the warm-up week starts tomorrow. Now, you can access the academy anytime, 24/7. So it's an online academy. Once a week at this actual time at 4:30 on Mondays, Eastern Standard Time, we have a live chat. It's like this, except we actually can see each other. And so it's a little bit, it's more intimate than when I can only see what you've written. And, but you can access, so everything is already there. There's a creativity gym where you can actually go, and you can, I'll try to share that later on this week with people so they can see what that's like. But the classroom is available 24/7. There's also a Facebook page so that you can engage with other people. Then there is a live chat. And the other thing that for me is really important I love to learn online, but not if I can't have access to a teacher to ask questions, because I always will get stuck with one thing that for some reason everybody else can do and I can't do. And so that is one of the other beautiful things about how it is both online, so you can access it 24/7 in your pajamas. You also have access to your classmates through the Facebook page, and you have access to me through the Ask a Question form or through the live chats. And so the time of the, so what time tomorrow? It goes online live, Marian, at tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. But I know that you're already in the academy. You probably can access some of it already, but I'm going to be going in there and switching things around tonight because I was like, I do them different every year. So let me see what other questions you have. John, may I post info about an online songwriting contest I belong to? No cost to join, no prize. Oh, Joanne, but accomplishment? Well, I wouldn't post about it here, but if you're in the academy, I would definitely post something about it there, because I mean, that's the kind of thing that everybody in the academy might want to do. So it could be a fun thing for everybody to even do together. Okay. Yeah, Heather's saying, yes, some of the class is already up. That's right, but I might take some of it down because I change it every year a little bit. Posted on the harpist list. Thank you. Yeah. Some of them are there not? Nancy says, are the nightingale parts a result of an early DHC visioning process? I think so, yes. So Nancy is asking about the song, The Nightingale. And in fact, that song is used in the Strings of Passion class. You get a very, very simple version of it so that you can use it in your visioning process as well, because it really is, it does have that feeling, even if you're just going back and forth between the first two chords. And of course, as you get more comfortable, you're going to add more chords to your visioning process, because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, what you're doing. Let's see, some of it is already up. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much. Maybe sharing is the seventh screen. That's a really good point, Nancy, that sharing and liftoff, that's really beautiful. I hadn't thought about that. That liftoff is also the moment when we share. That's absolutely right. And that can be sharing all alone in a room, because often one of the beautiful things about vision music and incorporating the Strings of Passion is that the experience that you have even alone becomes richer and deeper. And so that liftoff can happen when you're alone, but when it happens with other people, you were so right, Nancy, it becomes something that you're sharing back and forth with other people. And honestly, the principles of creative expression are, to me, what shift something from notes to music, or from movement to dance. They connect you to human meaning. And you see that it can be done with the simplest of technical abilities. And why is that important? Because we are expressing to other human beings. And whether you are playing harp in a concert hall, or whether you are playing at a bedside, or whether you are drawing, or whether you are singing for yourself, the point isn't the singing or the playing, it's the connection. It's the connection that you're making, either to who you are so that it can come out, or to another person. That is where freedom and life happens, is in that connection. And these 7 principles help you, because you can just sit there and say, I want to make more connection. I got to make more connection. My music has to be more musical. We need practical things to think about to help us make that artistic or musical or creative connection. And that's why I broke down the principles that I kind of naturally used, but then once I broke them down, because of the deconstruction, I'm able to use them much, much more at a much higher level. Let me see what else you guys said. Thank you so much. Yes, did I miss the 7th string? No, you did not. Okay, great. Vera's saying, there is a saying, if you're not willing to be a fool, you cannot be a master. That's beautiful. And I always love stories about music. they always help to give it life. Yeah, another really great use, and this is one of the things that we're going to be doing in Strings of Passion. So there's extra courses that are connected with it. And one of them is Sing and Play Harp, which you can also do on a piano, by the way. So Sing and Play Harp is to be able to sing, but there's another one I'm just developing, which is called Tell Your Story with Music. And it's a great use of these strings, of the Strings of Passion, because it's very similar to what we're doing today, but it's an opportunity to take those principles. And if someone says, "Oh, play us a song or sing something to us, or, tell us about your music or tell us about your drawing or something," instead of having to just show somebody and be in a position of judgment with them because you don't know what they're comparing it to, you can tell a story. So if I tell you the story that when I was a little kid, I got a present for my 7th birthday, which was a ukulele. And it was the first time in my life that I could accompany myself. So when I first put my fingers in the position on that ukulele, and I still remember doing it, and I played my first strum, I had the experience of being empowered and free. And then I went on and I played a bigger guitar, and then I played a bigger guitar, and then eventually when I saw a harp, it was familiar to me because it had those strings, and in many ways it was just that tiny little friend that I had as a 7-year-old when I got my first ukulele. And so I always will approach the harp both from, what it can do, and then to really think about it as that simple little instrument. So if I tell that story, which I've never told, but I'm just telling you now, it's a completely different introduction to someone of me playing music. And then I can play stuff, but it gives it dispels a lot of the judgment or the criticism or I'm just being watched for how I'm playing because I'm engaging. And that's one of the beautiful things that you can do in this class. You'll learn how to tell your story with music, and then you can apply all the principles to that. Of course, you can apply all the principles to any piece of music. You can imagine that. You can take a classical piece you've been playing for years, and as you apply the principles, it just starts getting more and more and more and more and more and beautiful. And then as you start deconstructing it, you start seeing ways that you could actually improvise in the middle of it. So it's got these practical aspects to it as well. Joanne is saying, where is the harp list? Joanne, are you already in the academy? Because if you're in the academy, the Hip Harp Academy, you can just go post it there. Oh, you're not in the academy. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you can post it here. It won't sort of exist because this will go away. Oh, Heather's saying you should join. It is super fun and it motivates you to practice. Yeah, thank you. Especially the new things. I agree, Heather. It's really great. The name of the 7th string is the string of deconstruction. Wow, it should be on the handout. Nancy's saying the Nightingale is one of the first pieces my harp teacher gave me 15 years later, playing it still. So here's one thing I want to say to you guys. So Nancy just said, 15 years later, I'm playing it still. For me, there was a big shift in my understanding about music when I started playing jazz. So up until jazz, I was trying to be a good classical musician. I was like, I'll learn this piece and I'll play that concerto, and then I'll play this one and I'll play this concerto, and now I'm learning this and I'm learning this. And when I started playing with jazz players, they were playing the same music every night, same tunes. It's completely different. And it was a completely different way of playing music. It stopped being the achievement of new things, and it started being the enrichment of what you can already do. So let me say that again. It stopped being the achievement of something new and bigger, and it started being the enrichment of what you can already do. And this is when things really shifted in my life, And I started being really seen and acknowledged as a performer, and then getting to take the music that I wrote and play it with symphony orchestra, or play it with chamber ensemble, or play it in huge halls. Because instead of trying to have an achievement with more and better music, I was bringing more and more me, more and more revelation to the music that I was playing. So that each piece, so Nancy, so that each time you play the piece, it opens up. And in the academy, you also learn ways, like I said, to improvise it with it, so that it not only opens up in terms of how richly you play it, but you actually learn ways to take a piece, even like the Nightingale, and start opening it up and adding parts of yourself to it. So that everybody is going to play it completely differently. And I just don't mean different in character wise, but someone might add a whole section that I didn't write. So I love that you said that, because I am still playing every piece that I ever played. And the older the piece, the richer it is. And my piece Baroque Flamenco is based on one of the very first pieces I ever played from a little book called Medieval to Modern. It is now a concerto that gets played all over the world. And it's a perfect example of the expansion of vision music from something that was so simple and so fun and so beautiful. And as I played it day after day, after year, it expanded into this spectacular piece that now others play and others make it their own. And it only could happen because of that principle of having a practice of playing it over and over. And because of the principle, I should take that one piece and show you guys just how powerful these principles are in taking that simple piece and expanding it into the, show-stopping concerto that it is now. Because it all happened, it's not like I crafted it. It grew. I let it grow. So you're learning in Strings of Passion, you're learning how to let the music grow. Sally's saying, lift off. Lexi saying, if I've purchased a single class today, can I switch to the full? Yes, Lexi, you can. Just text me. Text me. Just email me. And you should be able to just reply to the class that you signed up for. You'll be able to upgrade from it. So you won't lose what you paid today. You can switch up. Or we can just switch it out. Absolutely. Good. Nancy's saying, from the webinars, I do this all through the night. Yay, Nancy, that's great. Sandy says, I would love to hear how that grew. Well, you know what? Maybe that should be my next webinar, how to grow music. And take that piece. Wow. That's a brilliant idea, Sandy. I really love that. How to grow music. What's the perfect title? How to grow music in your garden. Am I too late? Vicky, am I too late? Yeah, well, you're not too late for the after show here, Vicky. Vicky, we're just talking, but I will be putting up the replay as soon as I can. And I'm glad you got here. Donna's saying, I simplified the Nightingale, omitting the middle, great, and drawing out the chords into arpeggios, letting it breathe. The variety comes with the character that I imbue with it. And that is perfect, Donna. And that is one of the things that there are also pieces that I give you in Strings of Passion for people who are harpists. And Nightingale, I give you a very simple version of the Nightingale. I also give you what's called a soundscape of the Nightingale, which is I've already played all the music, and you get to play with it. And that's another cool thing. And I should do that. I should do a webinar every day and show you guys all the cool stuff. That's a good idea. Vicky said, I'll try that again. And I do. Yes, but I understood exactly what you were saying, Vicky. You're too late for the full webinar, but I will put it up. And I'm going to try to get it up online like within the next 4 or 5 hours instead of in the next 24 hours. Usually it takes 24 hours. Yes, how to grow music. Okay, all right. So we need to do how to grow music into the creativity gym. And all of these are warm-ups. And the great thing is, once you're in the academy, you can ask me to talk about anything. Like in the chats, I will show you whatever. I will let you guys who are in the chats, I will answer whatever you ask, because it's fascinating to me, the questions that you have. So Heather's saying, yes, please, every day but weekends. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. Are there any other questions, or is anybody having trouble joining or anything like that? Just send me an email, and hopefully I'll get it. I have this new spam filter that just keeps putting things in different places. Looks like there's one last question here. Alyssa says, there is a Native American violinist I met recently working with the Seattle Symphony about how music inspires music by each writing a piece based on the previous one. That's really beautiful, Alyssa. I love that. That is great. How music inspires music. That's right. That's right. I'm just thinking about, how much I've experienced that. Okay, you guys, for those of you who are in the academy, I will see you very soon. I know many of you are. And for those of you who are not in the academy yet, I hope that you will be starting tomorrow. And if you have any questions about it, let me know. If you are not a harp player and you want to take Strings of Passion, you can do that. And if you want to do that, you should jump in right now, because we didn't take the early bird thing off yet. So you should just go to the page, Strings of Passion, which should be up on the screen. And again, any questions, just email. All right, you guys, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much. It was so great to have you here. Okay, bye.